Hello and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to use Microsoft Excel for tax and match tracking purposes for referees. So you can see I have all my match information from 2013 already in a nice table. We have our date on the far left, the city, the association, assigner, the person who employed me for that match, the field or complex, miles driven, the time of the match, age of the match, position I had on the match, how much I was paid, and how I was paid. On the next sheet, we have expenses and miles summed. So again, we have our date, our city. This time we have a merchant or a location, the amount paid, so my expense, the miles. I also have miles summed for a match, like right here you can see my April miles, June, July, so forth. Then for the expenses I did have, they are each in a category, and then I have some notes for myself on the far right. So on to our tax sheet. These are the values we want to calculate. We want our income, both gross and per assigner. Our expenses we want separated into categories. We'll have our net income. We'll have our miles traveled. That'll give us our taxable income. We're forgetting tax credit for miles. And then we will get into counting certain matches at the bottom. So start off, for our income, we're going to use a sum if formula, which will sum up values from a column where a criteria, in this case the DRA, is met. For the first one, we use Formula Builder. You can just double click on sum if. If it's not one of the most recently used, you just type in the search box sum if, double click on it, it'll ask you for a range. For that we need to go to our match sheet, and the range would be the association, so the assigner. We'll scroll all the way down to 147. Next, ask for our criteria, what we want to search for. In this case, it is the DRA. And then the sum range, what will be summed if the criteria of DRA is met, which is in the fees. I know it goes down to 147. With that, I'll press enter, go back to sheet, or go back to my tax sheet, and there we go. I made $1,815 for 2013 from the DRA. As you notice, it already has a number sign. If it didn't, it was just a it has a dollar sign. If it didn't, and we wanted to do that, we could just select all the columns we want, right click, go down to Format Cells. By default, it would have been up here on General, but we do want it on Currency, and decimal places is 2. That's all we need to worry about. Click OK, and it would change it if it was not already in that format. Next, we're going to take a little shortcut, like most students like. We're just going to copy and paste. We're going to copy that formula. Make sure you hit enter afterwards, or else it will change it and it will screw you up. So now I'm at PSRA. I'll go back up to the formula bar, hit enter. I'll do that for each of my assigners. As you can see, it all says the same number right now. That's because it is the exact same formula. We do need to change one thing in the formula bar, and that is our search criteria. So for this, it'll be the PSRA, hit enter, and it'll change, and we'll keep moving down the list. MRA, SCRA, and MO. And then once we have all those, we can go to our gross income. In that box, we'll just hit the equal sign, sum, parentheses, and this will allow us to sum our income. If I select all the boxes, so B4 through B8, a closing parenthesis, enter, and you'll see my total income from my 5 assigners for 2013 was $5,537. Now if we go over to expenses, we're looking to do the same thing, but this time it will be from the expense sheet. Same sum if formula, we need our range, which is under expense. That would be the expense category. Go ahead and select that. Our criteria, which will be a comma. We'll start with equipment, comma, and then our amount, so what we want total if it is in fact in the equipment category. We'll close that all with a parenthesis, hit enter. Ooh, what did we do wrong? There we go, a lot better. Same thing, we can be cheaters and we can use copy and paste, just changing the search criteria for each one. So for this one, even though it says tolls, it is just toll. That's $10. Education. We have registration. It looks like I spelled that one wrong. We'll get back to that. And dues, which should be 50. Whoops, there's a T left in there. Or sorry, what am I missing? Registration and education. How did I spell that wrong? For registration, doesn't matter if you spell something wrong as long as it's consistently spelled wrong. How did I spell it? Spelled it R-E-G-I-S station. And we'll just copy and paste the word registration, as apparently I skipped about the first grade. Once we get that in there, there we go, that's alright. The same as our gross income, we can total our expenses by using a sum formula, selecting E4 through E8, closing that, pressing enter. Net income is just a simple subtraction, so we'll go equal sign our gross income minus our total expense. So that leaves us at $4,785 of taxable income, but we still have our miles. So we're going to go with an equal, and this one's easy. It's a sum formula again, but it is in our expense tab, or sheet, and it's just everything that is under miles. And looks like we traveled a lot. I happen to know the tax credit for miles is 56.5 cents per mile, so we'll go an equal sign, simple multiplication, multiply the miles by 0.565, and that'll give us a tax credit of, after we put it in the right format, $2,003. Let's go to currency. Okay. So for our new taxable income, we'll have our net income, which is up in B12, minus the tax credit we received for our miles, which is $2,781 of taxable income. And that should be all the information you need for doing your taxes. The next thing we'll do is count the number of matches I did at a certain level. As you move up, as you get higher up, the higher ups start to care about what matches you're doing and how many at the next level. For me right now, that is amateur matches, and we will use a similar formula as the sum if, but this one will be the count if, the same formula builder. The difference is it will count in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than give us a sum. So count if, the range is under matches, we actually want count ifs formula, because we have two different categories we're selecting to. So we'll go back to tax and we'll build this by hand. So we'll start with an equal sign, count, ifs, open parenthesis, we'll go over to match. First criteria we want is the age, which goes down to 147. Next, we want to sort that by amateur. Make sure we put that in quotation marks. Then we'll have our second criteria range, which will be the position on the match. Also goes to 147. And again, make sure you get them in parentheses. I used an R for when I'm a referee. We'll hit enter, and it'll take us back to our tax sheet, and it will count the number of amateur centers I did, which was 2. We can do that same thing as we did above, copy and paste. And copy and paste. This one, change it to AR rather than just R. See, I did 3, and then I know this is 1, but we'll change it to 4th. And there you go. I have 6 matches from last year that were at the amateur level, and that's what my assessors and assigners are going to care for, and that's what the reasoning we calculated that. And there we go. Now you should be able to calculate your own taxable income as a referee and keep track of matches.